Christian pilgrims are sold into slavery.
Wow! Wow! Alright. Suggestion. Battle of Hattin. I wanted to do this for a while, but I was saving it because the video was kind of long, I'm not gonna lie. And I really wanted to save this for when I had a lot of time. Okay, if you've noticed, I didn't just wake up. Okay, like I've been awake for a while, and I actually have plenty of time to sit down and I react to this properly. So, because this was from Saladin. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I heard about this guy. I like the guy. He's gonna be good. I know who he is, honestly. So I was saving this for a good day. All right, let's continue, man. You can tell that
during the second half of the 12th century, a dramatic Muslim revival reaches its zenith under the command of Saladin Yusuf ibn Ayyub, a courageous and brilliant leader known to contemporary Muslims as Al-Nasir, the Victorious, and to Europeans as Saladin. He seeks nothing less than to unite all—
Nah, bro, I like to say Saladin. That sounds way more epic for this man.
all Muslims between the Euphrates and the Nile against a common enemy. In the late 11th century, the Fatimid Caliphate is in decline, and the Seljuk Empire is crumbling. In this period of Muslim weakness, the First Crusade strikes the Levant. Christian lords and knights impose institutions of Western Europe upon the social and political structures of the conquered lands. Their rule is relatively stable, largely thanks to Muslim disunity. But as the 12th century—
It is amazing to me how the freaking Crusades, the Crusader states, like even survived as long as it did. It really blows my mind.
rolls on. Less than 5 decades since European crusaders arrived in the region, the Zengid dynasty rises to prominence in northern Levant. Under competent leadership of Imad ad-Din Zengi, they defeat the Crusaders and retake the city of Edessa in 1144, thus, in effect, provoking the Pope to call for the Second Crusade. Although Imad is assassinated 2 years later, in 1146, his son Nur ad-Din successfully continues the fight against the Crusaders until the Second Crusade eventually fizzles out, and he expands his father's realm over the years, bringing much-needed stability and prosperity to his people. It is during Nur ad-Din's reign that Saladin begins his rise to prominence. Born in 1137 in Tikrit, in modern-day Iraq, Saladin spends his formative years in Damascus. From a young age, he is educated in Greek philosophy, mathematics, poetry, astronomy, law, and above all, he becomes an ardent student of the Quran and theology.
Of course.
His upbringing is helped by members of his family, who served as skillful diplomats and administrators, first in the Seljuk Empire, and later for the Zengid dynasty. Growing up,
Yo, I didn't know the origins of Saladin. I just think that he was cool. I'm actually learning quite a lot. Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, this man, just, wow, okay.
Saladin's uncle, Shakur, and Nur ad-Din become his biggest role models. They instilled in him the principles of chivalry, piety, nobility, justice, humility, generosity, brotherhood, mercy, and forgiveness, all of which would come to define Saladin's life and legacy. He joins the military at the age of 14 and is ably trained by his uncle Shakur, a military commander in the Zengid army.
Oh, so from a very young age, he was molded. Oh, that's why he had so much freaking humility. Oh, wow. Raise your kids properly. Seriously, man. Raise your kids properly. You know how many people who are around who are literal adult babies, who have zero morality whatsoever, zero humility, zero sense of justice, only care about themselves because the parents are failing them, and they turn into adult and they become like that. Bro, I could go on and on about this, but my channel isn't really about that topic. But I want to bring this up because Saladin, bro, I swear, I love saying his name like that, man. I'm so sorry, but I do. You're gonna have to get used to me saying that. But Saladin, yeah, that's why I liked him. That's why I respected him so much, just because he was really, he had a lot of humility and sense of justice and generosity. All of this, man. I just thought he was just like that from the get-go. But yeah, he was raised to be like that. He was raised properly, man. My goodness, bruh. Why can people not raise
a quick learner?
Whatever.
Saladin soon impresses his mentor. His performance in early battles enables him to take on leading responsibilities in military campaigns, and over the years, he distinguishes himself through his bravery, military leadership, sharp intellect, and loyalty to his leaders. Saladin's star truly begins to rise in the 1160s, when Nur ad-Din intervenes in the affairs of the weakening Fatimid Caliphate, aiming to forestall the Amalric's quest to expand the Kingdom of Jerusalem into Egypt. Recognized as a competent, trustworthy, and ambitious leader, in 1164, Saladin is sent to Egypt as part of the command structure of a Zengid army, commanded by his uncle Shakur. He becomes an integral part of several campaigns over the years, and his uncle's second in command. By early 1169, the army of Amalric I, King of Jerusalem, is finally expelled from Egypt. Saladin's uncle Shakur is named vizier of the Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid, which gives Nur ad-Din de facto control over Egypt. But just 1 month later, in March 1169, Shakur suddenly dies after a short illness. Without his right-hand man, Nur ad-Din's influence in Egypt is threatened. Al-Adid senses an opportunity to strengthen his own position and quickly appoints Salah ad-Din without waiting for a decision from Damascus, thinking that a young vizier with no political power in Egypt will be easy to control. However, the 31-year-old Saladin proves to be more than what Al-Adid has bargained for. The young vizier takes advantage of the Fatimid political system, and through clever tactics, he gradually installs his close family members in key government and military positions.
Oh, the classic. Bro gets appointed into a role that seems insignificant, but he realizes that his role can have a lot of influence, and he takes that role and he brings people, obviously, that is going to share the same ideals / I don't know, his sympathizers, whether it be supporters, family, whatever. Of course, he appoints them into roles of importance. And when his loyal supporters are in that role, he gains control. Of course, yes.
To consolidate his power enough to overthrow and dissolve the Fatimid Shia Caliphate just 2 years later, in 1171, thus founding the Ayyubid dynasty. Saladin can now concentrate on strengthening Egypt as a bastion of Sunni Muslim power, with himself as governor in the name of Nur ad-Din. He revitalizes the economy, establishes civic institutions, and greatly improves education by building a law college in Alexandria and a vast number of schools all over Egypt, giving school administrators and teachers good salaries, which attracts many scholars from across Asia and Europe, turning Egypt into an intellectual powerhouse of the 12th century.
Wow, America, take notes. Go pay your teachers well.
He abolishes tolls for Muslim pilgrims who cross the Red Sea and pays compensation to Mecca for any loss of income. a shrewd move that makes him popular among the people and also makes him a patron of Mecca.
This guy is a definition of
Saladin
competent.
transforms Egypt into a salient against the Crusaders by creating an entirely new army, loyal only to him, and starts rebuilding the navy to protect Egypt's coasts.
Bro, the more I learn about this guy, the more I'm loving him. Like, this guy is smart, this guy is competent, this guy is everything. This guy is everything. I want to see how good he is on the battlefield.
Military forays soon follow to secure and expand the borders, first against Nubia, where hostile remnants of the Fatimid establishment still persist. Then into Libya, where Ayyubid armies push west to Tripoli and expel the Norman occupiers. Although Saladin never manages to consolidate his authority west of the province of Barca. Most importantly, Saladin turns his attention towards tightening his grip over Hijaz and captures Yemen, thus gaining control over the Red Sea and its vast maritime trading potential, which immensely increases Egypt's commercial wealth. By all accounts, Saladin is actively building an empire, which creates friction with Nur ad-Din, his master in Syria. Tensions rise and almost result in conflict, but then Nur ad-Din dies suddenly in 1174
Oh, wow.
of a heart attack. In the ensuing power vacuum, his 11-year-old son Al-Salih cannot fill the void left by his father's death, but Saladin can, and he now sees before him a grand vision. He can unite Egypt and Syria for a holy war against the Christian invaders. He proclaims the need for unity and jihad as reasons to intervene in Syria, and his claims are not without merit. By controlling the Red Sea, or by reconquering the area south of the Shorbak Castle, Saladin is already recognized as the liberator of the Hajj Road. Securing pilgrimage routes from Sudan and Egypt to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina earns him a lot of credibility, and as a result, his arrival into Syria is much welcomed by ordinary people, but not so much by some members of the Zengid dynasty. Nevertheless, Saladin brings most of the Zengid territory under his control, either through diplomacy or military intervention, thus becoming the Sultan of Egypt and Syria.
Man, he's on a roll!
Malrik plans to exploit the political instability in Syria and expand his territory, but he dies of dysentery in July 1174. In Saladin's view, Amalric's death is a sign of God's favor, with the throne passing to Baldwin IV.
Yo, what was it though? Was it? Like, actually, was it? Like, you know, if you watch my early Muslim expansion series, I always say everything is literally God's will. Like, it literally says that in the Word of God. In the Word of God, everything is God's will. So, like, honestly, probably, I mean, probably. I'm watching this right now. I'm just like, it's almost like if everything was set in stone, just given to him. Everything was put in place for him. You know, almost like if someone wanted that to happen. So probably, yeah.
A mere boy suffering from leprosy, and the Frankish nobles angling for positions in the kingdom, the threat of a major Christian invasion subsides. But Saladin knows that the time is not yet right to fight the Crusaders, as he must consolidate his position against Nur ad-Din's relatives, who still pose a threat from their bases in Aleppo and Mosul. But as Baldwin IV matures, the kingdom adopts a proactive foreign policy. The Crusaders tried to take Hama and Harim, but fail in the attempt. In 1177, Saladin responds by leading a large invasion force into the Kingdom of Jerusalem to counter the Frankish aggression. Baldwin, now 16 years old, despite being vastly outnumbered, proves he is a capable leader, able to unite his nobles against the Muslim threat, and with the help of Reynaud of Chatillon, his second-in-command, he manages to catch Saladin by surprise at Montgizard, due to a rare tactical error by the Sultan.
Yeah, I've heard of Baldwin IV too. Of course I've heard of Baldwin IV. Duh. It's a shame that he had leprosy. It's really a shame.
Saladin suffers a crushing defeat, narrowly escaping with his own life, with many of his army killed or taken prisoner. But Baldwin lacks the resources to follow up on the victory, and the Sultan manages to regroup.
Of course.
In April 1179, Saladin strikes back and decisively defeats Baldwin in the Golan region, nearly capturing the king. Another Christian army is defeated in June of the same year.
Yeah.
And just 2 months later, an important Templar fortress situated on the pilgrimage route is destroyed. Finally, in 1180, Saladin and Baldwin agree a 2-year truce. But even before the ink is dry, it is clear that the mighty fortress of Kerak will become the next flashpoint. Virtually impenetrable, atop a steep hill, with its 80-meter entrance tunnel and walls thick enough to withstand the battering of siege weapons, Kerak is the home of Reynaud of Chatillon. His fortress sits on the key road between Damascus and Mecca, and from there, the Baron is able to tax, raid, and rob the passing camel caravans of traders and pilgrims. Truce or no truce, Reynaud thinks that Muslims should not be allowed to pass freely. In the summer of...
Yo. Bro. Bro. Now, this might sound a bit... Okay, I don't know. There's two sides to the coin. And oh my gosh, look. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with what I'm about to say. I don't know if it's because I'm just reacting to a lot more Islamic series, but like Muslims, based on what I've seen so far, they tend to treat Christians better than vice versa. Like, you know, I've seen instances where Christians like treat Muslims good and whatnot with great care, excellently. But I'm just saying that overall, it really kind of does seem like Muslims don't really view Christians in like a horrible way more than how Christians view Muslims. I tend to notice that the way how Christians view Muslims in a lot of this is always like kind of hostile, extremely hostile. Again, there's two sides of a coin because like I know that there's both Muslims and Christians that view the other with hostility, but I'm just saying. Look, I don't want nobody in the comments, bro. I know, cause bro, I know someone who is a Christian, who's European, blah blah blah. They're gonna hear that, and they're gonna get so angry, blah blah blah. Okay, cool. If I'm wrong, then respectfully explain why I'm wrong. I don't need you to throw insults at me, blah 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 blah. Again, this is a discussion, not a debate. I'm just saying, based on a lot of stuff that I've seen, watched, heard, etc., etc., it really does seem like Christians always have a more ill intent towards Muslims than Muslims have ill intent. In layman's terms, Christians tend to treat Muslims bad more, but Muslims tend to treat Christians better more. Whenever one person is in a position of power than the other. Okay? Now, if you want to go in my comments and explain a bunch of examples where Christians treated Muslims excellently, you are free to do that. Again, you are free to do that. But if you're going to sit here and throw insults at me, blah, 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 because I've had both Muslim people and Christians do this nonsense to me, I'm not out for it. I'm really not out for it, bro. Like, I'm not out for it at all. Like, get out of here if you're going to do that, bro, honestly. Let us continue.
Of 1181, he rides deep into Arabia and intercepts a major Muslim caravan, strips the travelers of their possessions, and takes many prisoners. Saladin demands compensation from Baldwin, but the king cannot force Reynaud to recompense. Saladin holds a group of Christian pilgrims hostage as leverage, but Reynaud still refuses to free the Muslim pilgrims. In response, Christian pilgrims are sold into slavery.
Wow! Wow!
Reynaud puts more strain on the already delicate truce. The rogue crusader sends troops via the Red Sea, declaring that he will destroy the Kaaba and exhume the Prophet's tomb in Hijaz.
That is
Thanks to Saladin's legal
wild.
reforms, Egypt is well prepared. Al-Adil, Saladin's brother and governor of Egypt, dispatches the Ayyubid fleet. Most of the Christian raiders are captured and executed on the orders from the Sultan.
This man is on a mission. Like, this man has a strong vendetta against Islam. Oh my
Eulogies of
gosh.
Saladin abound in the Muslim community, as he is yet again seen as the protector of Islamic holy places and pilgrimage routes. And then the tide turns in favor of the Muslims. In 1183, Aleppo finally surrenders to Saladin, who now becomes the mightiest ruler of the Muslim world and the leader of a unified Muslim front against the Latin Crusaders. Exercising uncontested authority over Egypt and Syria, he is supported by the Sunni Caliph in Baghdad and is recognized as the Lord of Arabia and patron of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina.
Wow.
Most importantly, ordinary Muslims that Saladin sought to bring together are jubilant that Islam is again united.
Jubilant. Ah, man, jubilant. That word, man, reminds me of how the Queen Elizabeth II, she managed to bring freaking like everyone together, man. I don't think any monarch could do that again for the Commonwealth, man. Like, oh man, I heard jubilee. Yeah, I heard jubilees, man. That was fun. That was fun. This really does remind me of that, man. Yeah, damn, Salahuddin, I see you. Salahuddin got that aura. He got that same aura like Queen Elizabeth II. That's the type of aura I'm getting from him.
Saladin's conquest of Aleppo shocks the Crusader states. Saladin can now direct his vast resources to put pressure on the Kingdom of Jerusalem almost along its entire border. A devastating raid into Christian lands is followed by several probing attacks on the fortress of Kerak, testing the resolve of the Franks and putting strain on their resources. To make matters worse for the Crusaders, the tragic life of Baldwin IV is over. The king's final act was to try and secure peace by sending Raymond of Tripoli to negotiate a 4-year truce, which Saladin readily agrees to, because he has problems of his own with the Zengid ruler in Mosul, who is forming a coalition against him.
Yeah, I was wondering about the Zengin. Like, I know they do not like him.
The king's successor, Baldwin V, is a sickly child, and he dies just a year later, triggering a succession crisis.
Oh my gosh.
After a period of political turmoil, the throne passes on to Baldwin IV's sister, who in turn crowns her husband, Guy of Lusignan, as king of Jerusalem. But the new king is not able to control his vassal nobles. Then comes troubling news from the south. In December 1186, Reynaud of Chatillon once again violates the truce.
Oh my,
He overruns another rich caravan,
Oh,
slaughters and imprisons many
dude.
Muslims.
Oh no.
Saladin immediately dispatches an envoy, demanding the return of hostages and treasure, threatening the truce breaker with vengeance.
Bro, what is... he's a Frank. He's French. Oh my gosh, man. The French. It is always the French. I swear.
On his
All of these reactions that I'm like, bro, it blows my mind how the French just they are kings that just ruining everything. I don't even know what else to say.
the walls of Kerak refuses to even receive the envoy. Upon hearing of this, Saladin finally loses his patience and swears that he will take the life of Reynord with his own hand. His anger, beyond words, beyond bounds.
Honestly, yeah, justified.
Saladin gathers his generals in Damascus to draw up plans for a major invasion. Messengers gallop to all corners of the state, urging action, vengeance, a war of liberation and annihilation. The words jihad and Jerusalem are on the lips of all Muslims who answer Saladin's call.
Of course.
Saladin leaves garrisons along the border to protect the northern flank and begins raiding Christian lands. During one of the raids, a chance encounter between a Muslim cavalry advance guard and a Christian contingent of 130 knights, 400 cupoles and infantry at the springs of Cresson ends in disaster for the Templars and Hospitaliers. Heads of knights on lances and prisoners chained to horses are paraded in front of Tiberius. The calamity at the springs of Cresson is a wake-up call for the Christians, who quickly mend old rivalries and unite in the face of the conflict that is coming.
But they're bound to lose. Like, I'm sorry. Dude, like, look how small those Crusader states are. They're bound to lose. Like, unless they get help from Europe, which I doubt they will, they're gonna lose. Okay, like...
On June 26, 1187, Saladin regroups his troops and marches towards the River Jordan. His army numbers around 30,000 and is divided into three wings, with Taqi ad-Din commanding the right, Kukburi commanding the left, and Saladin himself in the center. On June 27th, the army reaches the River Jordan and makes camp in a marshy area near Lake Tiberias. Raiding parties are sent into Christian territory to ravage the area and set the stage for the invasion. Some 25 kilometers west, a Christian army some 20,000 strong encamps near Sephoria, a highly strategic location because of its rich water resources. On June 30th, Saladin sends a contingent north to block the town of Tiberias, and then challenges the Crusaders by moving his main camp closer to Sephoria, some 10 kilometers west of Lake Tiberias. But as neither side takes action, Saladin decides to make the first move. On July 1st, he sends scouts to monitor an alternative road on his northern flank that connects Sephoria and Tiberias. Later in the day, reports confirmed that the Crusaders are not advancing on either route, and on July 2nd, Saladin takes the initiative. He marches east towards Tiberias with most of his infantry, a cavalry contingent, siege engineers, and their equipment. By late morning, they reach Tiberias, where Raymond's wife is staying, and they besiege the town. Not long after, Muslim troops breach the wall, and the town is seized by nightfall. Raymond's wife barricades herself inside the citadel with her guards and sends messengers urging King Guy to send help. Back west, plumes of smoke can be seen in the sky above Tiberias, and when news of the siege reaches the Crusader camp, King Guy holds a war council to debate what should be done. At first, Raymond of Tripoli makes a persuasive argument against marching to raise the siege, insisting that the Christian army has a strong defensive position at Sephoria and should stay put. But the Count's cautiousness is met with accusations of cowardice and treachery, mainly from the Templar master, Gerard de Ridefort and Reynord of Chatillon, who push for a more aggressive stance and put pressure on King Guy with strong political, military, and diplomatic arguments.
I have done enough reactions that every time I hear a war council debate and I hear cowardice or something like that, or you're not brave enough if you don't do anything, if you stay put, immediately I know how this is gonna end. I do. Let's continue.
Persuaded, the king sends a herald through the camp to sound the call that the army will march to the rescue of Tiberius at dawn. And on July 3rd, the Crusader army makes way. They set out with Raymond of Tripoli commanding the vanguard. King Guy leads the centre, where the Bishop of Acre carries Christendom's greatest relic, the true cross, on which Christ is believed to have been crucified.
Whoa!
where the Templars and Hospitaliers are stationed.
The true...
King Guy orders
the true cross. Now that is interesting because I thought after he was crucified that they just kind of just put the cross away so that no one could get it in like a kind of like a relic. I didn't think they would be holding it in battle.
To march with haste, planning to reach the besieged town by the end of the day. But as noon approaches and the sun rises across the clear, cloudless sky, it becomes apparent that the day will be extremely hot. There is no breeze, and the scorching heat slows down the column.
Bro, you're in the middle
by midday,
of
the army
the Middle East.
Reaches the next watering
of
the
course.
Of Tehran, only 1/3 of the way. But as they press on, there is no escaping the sun and the thick dust raised by the marching troops. It becomes clear to King...
Yo, I can only imagine, like, how tan they must be from that, bro. Bro, imagine how tan they must be. Bro, I suffer from this a lot. Like, if you've watched my videos, if you've been watching me for a while, you'll notice that my skin tone fluctuates a lot. Like, a lot. It's because the sun, bro. The sun is so bad, bro. Ugh. What the sun will do to you, it will cook you, bruh. Right now, you're looking at me, and I look more lighter right now. But this is not my skin tone, y'all. This is not my skin tone. I'm actually way more lighter than this. I'm so freaking tan as heck. So I can only imagine what these people are going through. Oh my gosh, dude.
Guy and his officers that they will not reach Tiberias in a single day. As the column moves away from Tehran, detachments of Saladin's fast-moving horse archers appear from nearby hills, harassing the Christians, cutting off their line of retreat. The Crusader infantry closes ranks to protect the cavalry against hit-and-run attacks, but the number of casualties in men and animals begins to rise. The day wears on, and the constant harassment and sporadic clashes slow the Crusader rearguard down to a crawl, and they become separated from the rest of the army. Fearing the loss of his elite shock cavalry, King Guy orders the centre to stop to allow the rearguard to catch up. He relays the message to Raymond, ordering him to halt the vanguard. But as the entire Crusader column gradually gets encircled by the ever-increasing number of Saladin's horse archers, it becomes clear that they have fallen into a trap. After quickly taking Tiberias, Saladin had time to return, leaving only a small garrison to block the citadel. And with his main contingent, he is now blocking the road. With nightfall fast approaching, the exhausted Christian fighters, slowed by thirst and hemmed in by Muslim forces, cannot fight their way past Saladin's fresh troops. King Guy has no choice but to order his men to make camp where they stand.
That is brutal.
From the king's tent, the main Muslim contingent also encamps for the night. But the night ahead will be a difficult one for the Crusaders. Their column stretches some 2 kilometers and it's not protected by any natural terrain features. Muslim horse archers continue to pepper the camp throughout the night. Skirmishers clash with the Crusaders, tents on fire along the camp perimeter. Unable to water supplies dwindling, the smoke and the heat from the fire drains the energy from the Christians.
Oh, this is horrible. I have watched a lot of battles, but this is the worst I've probably seen. This is just horrible.
Come morning, things quiet down. Saladin waits for the heat to rise and to see what the Christians will do. Crusaders, now without any water and tormented by thirst, have only one aim: the village of Hattin, where there is a water source. They make way across the valley, keeping the same formation of 3 squares, with infantry shielding the cavalry. Saladin's troops set fire to the nearby brushwood, sending choking clouds of smoke on a westerly breeze towards the Crusaders. And with the sun beating down from the clear sky, the Christians push on towards Hattin, desperate to reach its water well. To prevent this, Saladin sends Taqi al-Din's wing galloping to block the valley, determined to fully encircle the enemy and not allow them to quench their thirst. He especially wants to wear down the knights and their cavalry, aware of just how dangerous their frontal charge is. Taqi skirmishers riding close, then hit and run to test the flanks of the Christians. Horse archers then unleash volley after volley onto the Crusader column. Exhausted, thirsty and disheartened, the Crusader infantry starts to break away from the mounted knights. They disperse and flee, with a large group heading east towards a hill called the Horns of Hattin, and another group fleeing north towards the village of Nimrin. Seeing the fleeing troops, Muslim riders open gaps in their line to draw out the enemy infantry. King Guy and his officers realize they are doomed unless they can break through. But the Muslims charge the rear of the column, and the Templars and Hospitaliers become heavily engaged, forcing Guy to halt for a second time to prevent the cavalry formations from breaking up. But in the front...
This is the worst battle that I have seen. The Battle of Cannae, or Cannae, whatever the heck you want to pronounce. I don't know what accent you're going to pronounce that battle in. But, this battle is just awful. This is just really, really awful. Like, I guess I have reacted to a lot of battles before. Okay, like, obviously, if you've been watching my channel for, you know that. But this is just, I don't even know what else to say. But besides that, this is just so bad.
Raymond of Tripoli is already edging away from King Guy's cavalry formation. As he advances, the Muslim riders begin opening another gap in their line. Raymond decides not to sit and wait. He gathers his knights and charges Taqi al-Din's cavalry. The Muslim riders let the galloping Christians pass through, showering Raymond and his men with arrows as they retreat from the battlefield. Back in the smoke-filled valley, the Christian knights are dying. Guy orders the cavalry to move towards the Horns of Hattin through a gap already created by the retreating infantry. He knows that there are shallow pools of water at the top of the hill and hopes they are not dry. Meanwhile, on the hill, Saladin's troops close in and engage the Christian infantry. Exhausted, the enemy infantry barely put up a fight and they are quickly overwhelmed. The Muslims then turn towards the King of Jerusalem himself. Throughout the incessant close-quarter fighting...
Look, I already know how this battle is going to end. I just want to know what is going to happen to the cross. That's literally all I'm watching this for.
Knights gather around to protect the true cross as they retreat towards the hill. But at the top, they find no relief and no water. King Guy rallies his knights and raises his red tent to provide a focal point, but to no avail. Muslim troops push up the slope and engage the Christians. In the melee, the true cross falls into Muslim hands. Seeing this, the surviving Christian knights rally and charge downhill to retrieve it, pushing the Muslim line back. But they have no fight left in them, and soon begin to take heavy casualties.
What happened to the cross?
King Guy orders them to surrender. The knights dismount and collapse on the ground. King Guy is also found on the ground at his tent, utterly exhausted, barely having enough strength left to hand over his sword. Saladin's army has won a great victory. King Guy is captured along with many nobles and knights, among them Reynard of Chatillon. Saladin orders that ice water be brought and offered to the king. Then, according to Imad al-Din, the king, having drunk some of it, handed the cup to Reynard of Chatillon. Whereupon the Sultan said to an interpreter, "Say to the king, it is you who give him to drink, but I give him neither to drink nor to eat." By these words, Saladin wishes that it be understood that honor forbade him to harm any man who has tasted his hospitality. And with that, he swings his sword and strikes Reynard on the neck, thus fulfilling his oath to kill the truce breaker. But more important...
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was kind of obvious what was gonna happen to him. I mean, I just want to know what happened to the cross.
The large Crusader army that is destroyed at Hattin cannot be replaced. Without it, Christian castles, towns and cities are now defenceless. By 1188, only Tyre and Antioch hold out to spur Europe to embark on another crusade. But that is a story for another time. It is worth noting that we mainly focused on Saladin's military achievements in this video. But there is much more to the man who was admired by his European enemies and loved by his fellow Muslims. Saladin was a courageous Muslim leader whose firm foundation in the religion and its prime values led to his commitment to the Islamic cause. In just 12 years, he united Mesopotamia, Syria, Egypt, Eastern Libya, Western Arabia, and Yemen, using his skills in diplomacy and administration to piece together this divided region. His scope of vision was that he gave each situation its due attention and weight, and he never broke a bridge of diplomacy or peace initiative with his opponents. The power or wealth he acquired never spoiled him. He was a man of restless energy, geared to serve his goal in driving the invaders out of Muslim lands. We highly recommend you check out the sources we use.
Bro, what happened to the cross? Oh my god. I hope it was not destroyed. I would be furious if they destroyed it. I would honestly be so freaking furious. Oh my god. Look, man, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, go check out my other reactions on my channel, man. Go subscribe while you're at it. You got any suggestions, go comment down below. Eventually I'll do it. Like the video so that my video stays on the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching, man, and goodbye.